This assignment is by Group F2, October 1st, 2023 for MIS 585. Just a little heads up going through this, we're trying to keep the time short, so our recordings for each slide won't be too long, and you may want to pause the video to look at the details. Thank you. Okay, so what you're seeing here is a little bit of our brainstorming page. We were using Miro to kind of work together. What you'll see in the top left is our sitemap and also the division of the tasks, our user testing scripts, some of our meeting goals, and at the bottom you're going to see some key design decisions. So one of the things that we decided to do was a navigation on each page, a footer on each page, and a search on each page. Now these weren't specifically asked for, but in any website you would see this. And in the requirements, there was an ask for a search page, but I really haven't seen that. So we assumed you meant a search in the course catalog area. So we put a search in there as well as the search in the nav bar. And so some of these things will be built out more next week. So I just want to draw your attention to another thing that we're using. And it's a branding library. So we're using Materials.io UI Kit. The link is at the bottom in the middle. There's also an appendix that shows some imagery on that. We are also using a 12 column grid. This again keeps us clean, professional, and sets us up for responsive later. So what you'll see here is the wireframe for our navigation, for our home page. You'll see we've got a navigation. I've broken up with different pieces of information, and what I found from my user testing, so the questions are in the middle, is that users were quite interested with, even though we have a hamburger, they still want a nav at the top. I thought about some of the call-out things that they wanted. They didn't want ads. They wanted something fun like carousels or GIFs. And something really interesting that came up is they wanted links to volunteering opportunities. And again, the key was to keep it simple, so most of them didn't want much more than what was here. So this is the high fidelity design of the home page. One of the key things in the design that I wanted to do was expected behavior. So that was the hamburger, the navigation that they want, the way I did the search widget kind of thing. Especially also using our UI kit, Materials.io, that's something very expected and very standard. So that again was part of the design. 1 week is not enough to come up with a design library, so using Materials.io helps with that. Gestalt, so like size objects together to draw the user's eye, human-centered design, and simplicity. So what you see here is Lillian's wireframes. So on this page, we've got our wireframe, her testing, and her synthesis. So from her synthesis, she got the feedback to add links of curriculum, courses in their next semester, information on what they'd like to see in the course catalog, number of seats and instructions. Somebody said something about an ad, okay, but don't cover up content. The other feedback that she was given was not to have it stretch the whole page. And on this page, you see her wireframe. So she's using the Materials.io. She's using Material.io branding components. Her design thinking isn't quite what is expected, but as you can read here, this is what she put for her design thinking. Here we have Chanel's wireframes, her questions, and her synthesis. Some of the synthesis that she got was to, when she's presenting it, make it more like the browser, because we're building it in a browser. That's where people want to do this. So it's a little bit confusing to see it this way. And also it looks like a form, but it's not supposed to be a form. So that has to be cleaned up. The footer as well needs a bit of work. So that will be done next time possibly. On this page, we see her high-res wireframes. She tried to use the Materials.io components, and she has what she thinks is her design thinking. So again, it's not quite the design thinking theories, but this is what she did. So the next 4 pages will be Tiffany's wireframes and her high-res for the assignment submission and the discussion board. So we've got her wireframes, her questions, and her synthesis. Her synthesis seemed decent enough, so make recent graded kind of area clickable, less daunting to users. Have an area to contact the course instructor. The other thing as well, like all of them, is like show it so the users know what it's going to be. So put it in a browser, make it kind of 1/3, 2/3. So that was kind of feedback, and make the submission button a little bit more clear. This is her high res for this. It still needs a little bit of work, and what she thinks is her design thinking is on the left. So I think it's more almost like feedback. And on this page, we've got her discussion form. It was a lot more screens because there's submissions and all the other interactions. So we tried to get it down to 3 screens. So she's got her wireframes, her testing, and her synthesis. And again, the synthesis is don't have things run the full page. Make 1 page to be able to access everything that you need. Possibly an interesting area for topics with courses. And so those middle 2 things could be in your kind of 1/3 information area. And this is her high-res design of this. So she's got it so things kind of pull out and a little bit more interesting. She's got her design thinking here, and then I see a little bit of the kind of Gestalt-like ideas together, like components, like box of things, so the user knows exactly where to look. So thank you for taking the time to look at this. So again, thank you very much for taking the time to review this. Following this, you'll see our references, and Appendix A shows a little bit of our design library. Basically our specs for our 12 column group.